Hey guys, and welcome to the Central Arkansas game film for your EKU Hoops podcast. Welcome back. Sorry it's been a minute since I've done one of these. I've just been pretty busy with some of the stuff, but there's going to be a lot of content on YouTube, some breakdowns of the playoffs, and I wanted to get this to you all. So, today's obviously Central Arkansas, as you see, and this is the Baylor highlights. Thank you to Matthew Loves Basketball for letting me use his video, and let's get off. So full credit to him for this video. So let's get into it. Now, obviously, Baylor at this point was ranked 9th in the country, so this was kind of like a cupcake game for Baylor, and it was kind of just like I wouldn't say an exhibition game, but I've done a lot of Central Arkansas, a lot of mid-major schools that are up against big teams. So that's kind of how this series will go, because like the highlight videos from their channel are a lot smaller in time. So I just want to make it a little bit longer for you. But anyways, into the highlights. So as you see, Central Arkansas likes to pound the paint, like a lot. So they will run a lot of like double screens, and they will usually at some points load 4 centers in the paint on defense mostly, but sometimes on offense too. So they are kind of a little old school in their system, compared to other teams like EKU and Lipscomb. Those teams like to shoot the three a lot. They're a lot more old school. They push the paint a lot. And I'll go over their roster at the end. They have a little bit of a younger team, actually. So they're going to have a lot of guys coming back. So anyways, at this point, 2-0 with about 2.5 minutes into the game. And as I said, I mean, you look right here. All 5 players are in the paint. So they love to crash the boards, but they really just play a lot of paint defense, defense mainly. Like, see, like at the end of that play, there's already all the guys in there. So they obviously like to play in the paint, and a lot of teams like to at least put four guys on the arc, but they like to push the paint. So they're a lot more old school than other teams are. And they like to shoot mid-ranges and post-ups, Central Arkansas does. So they are a very old school team. And also, they are very physical. That's one thing. They are a super old school system, as I said. And they're super physical within their playing system. Like, they like to shoot contact shots because they want to draw contact. Their transition defense, kind of like Lipscomb's, isn't the best, but they can definitely get those points back. Not in the same way that Lipscomb does with their threes. They can try to draw in ones. That's kind of their way they get 3 points. They don't go for the regular 3 points. They go for the hard way to get 3 points. And also something that they struggle with, like on this last play, I'll roll it again. They're back. This is the last play before this play, but they kind of struggle on backdoor cuts a little too. I watched a little pregame film before I did this. So look, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys almost in the paint. So at least 3, and this guy cuts around, and then this guy just kind of pressuring up on the guard. But as you see right here, as soon as he sets his screen, he's kind of logged, and he's not forced over yet to him. He's still looking this way to the guard. So as soon as he threw the ball in, he was thinking jump because he didn't see him backdoor cut because he was right in front of him. So he didn't see him backdoor cut. But as soon as he flipped, it was wide open. So backdoor cuts is something that they struggle with. Definitely in this game they did. But they obviously, we're going up against a harder team, and Baylor's really good. It'll probably be one of the best teams you'll see in this whole series of the podcast. So yeah, Central Arkansas. I mean, they don't shoot a lot of threes, as I said, and they're super old school. Like the way they run their offense is super like either drive in to get an and one or shoot the mid range. Like shoot layups, try to create contact for an and one, or shoot a mid range fade. That's kind of their three shots that they shoot. I mean, that's kind of all they do. And they like to pick and roll, but not to pick and roll to get open threes. They like to pick and roll to create space in the paint. So they're a lot different than most teams in the ASUN. A lot of the teams like to shoot the three like crazy. But Central Arkansas is one of those. Maybe there might be one other team that I won't mention because I'll bring up later in the series with their game plan session. I mean, they're one of the two teams out of the 12 in the ASUN that like to push the paint inside. I mean, that's because the ASUN's just like shoot threes, shoot threes, shoot threes. And threes in general in the game of basketball is super big, but definitely in the ASUN they love to shoot threes. And that when I was talking about specialization players, that's what a lot of them are. There are a lot of guys that can shoot threes. I mean, even if you look at EKU's roster last season, you look at Braxton Beverly, okay? Fourth all-time in NC State three-pointers, right? You look at Jansen Williams, Marshall's all-time leading in blocks, but also was one of the top 10 guys out of Marshall with the most threes made. So we also are super 3-point oriented, but Central Arkansas is just super physical. They're like the era of 90s basketball. They're like push the paint, create contact. They're like ASUN's version of the Bad Boy Pistons. Not as physical like in egos. Just they like to push the paint so much, and they will get pushy sometimes if they have to. But I think they're the ASUN's version of the Bad Boy Pistons. So, I mean, even if you look at the score here, it's 23-9, and obviously you know Baylor's a lot better. No offense to Central Arkansas, but you even know coming into this game, it's kind of just seeing what you got against the best. Because for most of those first games, if you have a big schedule, it's kind of just see what can we compare to the best teams. That's kind of what those games are. Because Baylor knows they're gonna win. Like that's kind of like saying putting Kevin Durant and that Warriors team against an 8th grade team. Like you know you're gonna lose, but you just want to see what you got against the best. So I think this was a great experience, definitely for Central Arkansas, because they've not had one of these games in a while, and the ASUN in general doesn't have that many of these games. So I think for Central Arkansas, it's a lot of just seeing what you got in this game, and they're super physical. As I said, they're a lot more old school than most teams in ASUN are because they like to shoot a lot of threes and shoot the lights out. So I think for Central Arkansas, and we'll go over their roster next. I think for them, it's just getting a little bit more threes. I just don't think they shoot enough. I'm not saying shoot threes lights out, but I am saying you do need to put more effort into the threes, a little bit more. I'm not saying you have to shoot 40 threes a game. I'm just saying maybe shoot 10, 15 threes, and that could lead you to a lot more points. And even if you see here, it's 32-11, and obviously, if they only shoot twos, that's obviously less point value, but also their transition defense and backdoor cuts are a problem too. But in general, I don't really think they actually played as bad as the score shows in this game. Obviously, Baylor is a lot better, but honestly, against big competition, they were probably one of the top 5 teams in the ASUN with playing ranked teams. And there was only probably 8 of the 12 teams that played ranked teams. So this year, out of probably the last 5 years, had the most ranked teams play ASUN teams. Obviously, EKU got to play USC, which was 15th ranked at the time, so they got to play a ranked opponent. But in general, this was probably the biggest year for the ASUN in general, because we had a lot of new teams come in, and a lot of new just systems. I think the ASUN has been one of the most physical conferences in old school, but and they started shooting threes a couple years ago, in general for the ASUN. But now with EKU and Central and Bellarmine kind of started the tradition to start shooting the lights out because they love to shoot threes. So yeah, I think, to be honest, though, it's just getting Central Arkansas to maybe shoot 10, 15 threes a game would really help improve their system. I'm not saying their system is bad, because if you know how to get those and ones as easy as they do, I don't think it's a problem. I just think that would help them kind of adjust to the new generation of basketball. No, I love some mid-ranges, fades, and all this stuff. But even if you see on this play, they kind of fall under pressure. This was a great pass here, but they kind of fall under pressure because, ASUN in general, we were lucky that we got Jansen and we got Braxton and Iron, because they were used to these big arenas. But usually in the ASUN, they don't get those high-low major lower high major schools players to come, but because mid majors don't really have that much experience to those games, so they're kind of they fall under pressure when they have pressure. So to be honest, I think for Central Arkansas, it's just trying to figure out adjust to the newer system and shoot a little bit more threes, because that's something that I think they need help in their system with. But to be honest, I don't really think it's much of a problem. Because I think, to be honest, that they can obviously figure out different ways. I just think it would be more beneficial to figure out, hey, okay, let's say, for example, I think an ASUN average is probably 32 threes a game, right? 32 threes a game is probably about the average for ASUN teams. Alright? And if you shoot 10, 15 threes a game, that's I think, is for what they can do on the 2-point side of things, I think that's enough. I think 10 or 15 threes is fine. I don't think they have to shoot 25 or 30 threes a game, because they know how to push the paint and get inside and be physical. So I don't think they need as many threes as other teams do, but I think they do need to figure out a little bit more of a more physical, a little bit more of threes in their offense. So obviously you can see the score. It's kind of like a cupcake game, as I said earlier. I just think it was kind of just see what you got. That's what most of those starting games are, unless you're hosting the teams. So to be honest, I think for Central Arkansas, first pull away is shoot 10 or 15 threes a game. 1, that was 1. 2, work on backdoor cuts. And 3, to be honest, 3 is work on your transition defense. Because I think in general that's an ASUN struggle. I don't really think that's a team struggle. I think for most ASUN teams that is a struggle. Even us sometimes, we have problems with transition defense, because most teams in the ASUN are focused on offense more than defense. Now, Central Arkansas is one of the teams that are focused a little bit more on defense than offense. But I do think they need a little bit more threes left in their system, because I think that would really help them in multiple categories. And the final score ends up as a 92-46 147 game, and we're gonna go over to their roster, and I'm gonna see what you all think, because I wanna learn about what you all think they should do for the next season. Now, for their returning guys, they have actually a lot more returning guys than most teams do. But if you look at their roster, some of their guards are leaving. They have a lot of juniors coming back next year, though. So it's not like their whole team's gone. Like, they have a lot of guys that can definitely help them out. And definitely one guy that will definitely help them is Colin Cooper. He was someone last year that killed it for them, in my opinion. He's a guard. His stats, you're looking at 21 points as a season high, but he can play some long games. Like, he's played 40, 42, 43 minutes before, so he's used to playing a lot of games. But game by game, they did play a lot of big games. Actually, they played at Butler, and he didn't have his best 2 games here. But I think he actually was injured here, so these games don't really count. Okay, he played a little bit in this game, but I think he got injured that game. But after that, he kind of picked it up, 13 a game for 3 games, and then went 15, 13, 9, 12. So he's usually hanging around probably 14 points a game on average. And then to finish out, he got about 18 points a game, which is probably one of his season highs. And then his season high was at Lipscomb. At Stetson with 21 points. So overall, he scored 286 points over all season. And even his freshman season, he played pretty well. He got 27 games played, started only 7, but he got 80 points over the season, so he had a little bit less production, but obviously freshmen, unless you're star-studded, you don't really play a lot. But this year he definitely improved. So I think for him, he'll be a big step up for them. And looking out of the graduate standpoint, you are losing a couple of your good guys. This guy here, I just don't want to butcher your name. So, but he definitely played really good for them. And one other guy they're going to definitely miss is Chatham. He was a senior that really helped them in multiple ways, because he's a big that can shoot actually a little bit. He's one of their guys that will shoot the 3 a little bit. And I think he played a lot of years for them. He took all 5, so he played from 2016 to 2021, 2022. So he played all 6 years of eligibility at Central Arkansas. And if you look back at his stats, to be honest, he was someone that could definitely shoot the 3 a lot. In his season high, he scored 36 points versus Eastern. He kind of killed us there. In our game, though, he had a lot of his season highs. Even if you look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 of his season highs were against us. That game was super big for him in general. He got 36 points, 14 field goals made, 21 field goals attempted, so he only missed 6 shots. So I think he did a really well job. 7 shots. He did a really well job with them, and I think they're definitely going to miss him next year because he did a lot of things for for them. So, we'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for listening, and see you tomorrow. Peace.